Hello again and welcome. This episode is about how to communicate better. In this episode, I'm going to discuss the secret art of better communication. I'm going to help you get a little bit better at it. Have you ever met someone who just seems to connect with people effortlessly? They don't necessarily talk the most. In fact, usually that's not the case. They don't always have the loudest voice, and they are not always the most senior person in the room. Yet somehow people listen to them. People understand them and they trust them. And these people, high charisma people, seem to build relationships wherever they go. What's their secret? Some people assume they're just naturally gifted, great communicators. But in my experience, great communication is less about talent and far more about skill. And like any skill, it can be developed if you work on it. My name's Brian Dance. I've spent more than 30 years working in business and leadership with a focus on helping individuals and teams get better. And throughout that time, I've worked with thousands of people across a wide range of industries and roles. One of the things I've learned about communication is one of the most valuable skills a person can develop. It affects your career, your leadership, and ultimately your results. So communication, being a great communicator, is a very valuable skill. Welcome to The Long Way Forward. As I said, today we're exploring the art of better communication. Now, before we begin, if you find value in these conversations, please subscribe. I've got plenty more practical discussions ahead on leadership, communication, influence, and personal effectiveness. It'd be great to have you on the journey. I'll start with a simple truth. Communication is not about talking. It's about connecting. Think about that. It's not about talking. It's about connecting. People assume good communicators are great speakers. And sometimes they are. That's a part of it. But the best communicators I've encountered are often exceptional listeners, because communication is not a one-way activity. It's a two-way exchange. And the goal isn't simply to deliver information. The goal is understanding, mutual understanding. And that's an important distinction. Many people focus on what they want to say. We all do it. It's important. I want people to hear what I have to say. But great communicators focus on what the other person needs to hear. These are very different approaches. Imagine with me, you're explaining a complex idea. You can either focus on impressing people with your knowledge, or you can focus on helping them understand, seeing where they're at, and bringing them on the journey with you. One approach serves your ego. The other one serves your audience. And audiences always respond better when they feel understood. Notice I used the phrase bringing them on the journey with you. One of the biggest communication mistakes I see is people communicating for themselves rather than for the listener. They use jargon. They overcomplicate things. Long sentences, big words, too much information, or sometimes too little, because they assume the other side knows what they're talking about. And then they wonder why the message didn't land. The best communicators simplify. Not because they're simplifying the audience, mind you, they are simplifying the message. Sometimes less is more. Complexity in communication often creates confusion. Clarity and simplicity creates understanding. I've seen brilliant people, fantastic minds, struggle because they couldn't explain their ideas clearly. And I've seen really average, ordinary ideas get support because they were communicated really well. Communication matters. Here's something interesting. If you think you're great at communicating, I think I'm average. People don't just listen to your words. They listen to your intent. Think about that. They don't just listen to your words. They listen to your intent. They don't just hear what you're saying. They sense why you're saying it. Are you trying to help? Are you trying to impress? Are you trying to criticize? Are you trying to understand? Intent matters. If you genuinely believe in a product or a service that you're pitching, if you're a salesperson and you really believe it's a great product, people pick up on that. If you're a leader and you're trying to propose an idea or a change and you've got the best of intentions but you're uncertain about it, people will pick up on that too. And as a leader, if you're uncertain, they'll get, he's uncertain about it. Why should I support it? So think about your intent when you're communicating and how you're coming across. People are surprisingly good at detecting it. That's why authenticity is so important. People respond well to genuine communication. They don't respond so well to manipulation. One builds trust, the other one damages it. And as we've discussed in recent episodes, trust is so important. It sits underneath almost everything as a foundation. So I'm going to talk about another communication skill that's often overlooked. It's called curiosity. Great communicators are curious. They ask questions. They seek understanding. They don't assume. I've often found that the person asking the best questions is usually learning the most. Think about that. Curiosity helps us understand perspectives. It helps us uncover assumptions, and it helps us avoid misunderstandings. One of my favourite communication techniques is simply asking, can you tell me more about this? It's remarkable how much information appears when people feel genuinely heard. Now let's discuss listening, because no conversation about communication would be complete without listening. It's massive. As I said in the previous episode, most people listen to respond. They're just waiting for a break in the words to jump in and say something. They're waiting for their turn. They're preparing their answer. Good communicators listen to understand. And that's very different. When you're listening to understand, you are focused completely on the other person. You're not planning your response. You're not trying to win. You're trying to learn. And when people feel heard, and believe me, when you are listening to understand, the other person will see that. They will know that you're listening to understand. They'll respect that. They will feel heard. And when people feel heard, communication improves dramatically. Relationships improve. We all want good relationships, right? Trust improves, goes hand in hand with relationships. And what goes hand in hand with trust? Influence. Halfway point of the episode now, reflection time. Think with me. Think about the best communicator you've ever heard. And I have one or two in my mind. What made them effective? Was it their confidence? Yeah, they were confident. Was it their knowledge? Yeah, they were knowledgeable. Or was it their ability to make people feel heard, understood, and valued? And for me, it was that. Definitely that. For most people, it's usually that. It's the speaker's ability to make people feel heard, understood, and valued. I use the phrase, take them on the journey with you. You're walking the streets with them. You're in the trenches with them. They feel heard. They feel valued. Communication is ultimately about people. It's not about information. It's about people. Now, on people, I also share thoughts like this on LinkedIn. So if you'd like some more practical insights on leadership, communication, workplace performance, or sustainability, because I work in that space, do feel free to connect with me there. Build both of our networks. Be great to see you. Now, I'm going to talk now about adaptation. Adaptation is a fantastic word. One of the hallmarks about of great communicators is flexibility, adaptability. They don't communicate the same way with everyone. They adapt. I like to call it a toolbox of techniques. Different languages you can use, body language, dress, tone of voice, it's all there. And of course, listening. Great communicators are never the same with everybody. They adapt. A senior executive might want a concise summary. A technical specialist will want detail. A new employee will need context. Why should I do that? What's the business intent? These are all people that require communication. A customer might need reassurance, confidence in your solution. The message might be exactly the same or very similar, but the delivery changes. And that's where many communicators often struggle. They communicate the way they prefer to receive information. They don't consider the audience. They don't consider the way the audience prefers to receive the information. Great communicators think about who they're communicating with, the audience they're communicating with. They think about that audience first. They think about what the audience needs and how to communicate that to them. What do they need? What do they care about? What matters to my audience? And then great communicators shape the message, and they shape it so it travels with the audience well. That's not manipulation. That's effective communication. Practically speaking, if you want to become a better communicator, here are 5 simple things for you to focus on. First, seek understanding rather than simply delivering information. Second, simplify your message. Third, listen to understand. Fourth, ask more questions. Encourage questions. And fifth, adapt your communication style to the audience. I'll run through those again. Write them down, work through them with me. If you want to become a better communicator, focus on these 5 things. First, seek understanding rather than delivering information. Second, simplify your message. Third, listen to understand. Fourth, ask questions. And fifth, think about your audience. Adapt your communication style to the audience. These 5 habits alone will dramatically improve your communication effectiveness. They take practice, so it won't happen overnight, but steadily and consistently, your communication will improve, because communication is a skill, and like all skills, they improve with practice. So on practice, here's an exercise for this episode. In your next conversation, when you're communicating, focus on asking 1 extra question before sharing your opinion. So if you're on the receiving end of someone speaking with you, ask 1 extra question before sharing your opinion. Just 1. Be curious. Be curious. Seek understanding. See what happens. You might be surprised by how much more effective the communication becomes, how much more effective the conversation becomes, because better communication isn't about talking more, it's about connecting more and understanding more, listening more, and helping others understand you more. When you do that, communication becomes one of the most powerful tools you possess. It strengthens relationships. It builds trust. It creates influence. It improves leadership. And most importantly, helps everyone, you included, achieve better outcomes. How neat is that? Thank you all for joining me on this episode of The Long Way Forward. If you've enjoyed it, please like, comment, subscribe. Really enjoying the community that's evolving. Please subscribe. It helps more people discover this podcast, these conversations, and it improves their journey forward. In the next episode, I'm going to explore a question that many people struggle with. How do you get people to listen to you? Because communicating well is one thing. Getting your message heard is another skill entirely. How do you get people listen to you? If that's important, stop by the podcast next episode. Until then, thank you for listening. This is The Long Way Forward.